Welcome to Real Estate Secrets Unlocked, the podcast that takes you inside the minds of the industry's top professionals, revealing their top secrets to success. I'm your host, Danielle Damianov. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, get ready to learn the latest trends, strategies, and secrets that will help you succeed. Join us as we go beyond the basics and explore what it takes to make it in the world of real estate. So buckle up and get ready for a wild ride. This is Real Estate Secrets Unlocked. All right, everybody, it's Danielle Damianov with Real Estate Secrets Unlocked, and I am here today with Drewbie Willson. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. So Drewbie, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you do for a living?
So thank you first and foremost for having me on. It is an honor to be here. I am the vice president over at BREH Academy. Essentially, I jokingly tell people that I make memes, troll the internet, and get paid really well for it. But the truth is, what we do is we help people become the greatest version of themselves, right? So we understand in life, you have your professional life and you have your personal life, right? And a lot of people are playing the game, trying to create balance, trying to understand how to get the most out of both sides. I'm blessed enough to work with Ryan Stewman, who's kind of simplified a lot of these very complicated processes. And as part of Apex, that's really what we do, is we help coach people on how to implement those systems and processes to create their version of happiness or success, right? Because they're kind of interchangeable to a degree. And what's great is everybody's version of it is different. What you see as happiness and success may be different than what I see. But we all share the same mission of helping each other make that happen. And so we just know, hey, whatever you want out of life, so long as it's, falls in line with my code of ethics and core values, then, hey, let's work together to help that. And so, on top of all of that, I do a lot of other little things, but that's my primary goal and job, is just really helping people take that step.
I love it. I love it. So how long have you been with Apex or BREH Academy?
Yeah, so I originally was a client. I used to sell insurance up in Ohio, right? I wasn't Jake from State Farm, but I was Drewbie from Allstate. And I actually came in as a client of Apex because I wanted to learn marketing. I was a sales guy and I was kind of the top in my area. And the only thing that came to my mind was like, hey, how am I going to make more money, right? Because that's the end game right now. I'm trying to make money. Well, I need more leads. So if I can get more leads, I can make more sales, I can make more money, kind of just one step after another, right? So I joined as a client to learn marketing, had some success in my first marketing ventures, right? I generated a bunch of leads for our agency. Turns out when I doubled my production, the other agents in the area were like, hey man, you're the top guy. How did you just double up overnight? And I went, well, I got this lead stuff and I'm doing this, that, whatever. They're like, well, hey, how much for you to just set that up for us? Because we're busy. We don't want to do it. I made 10 grand in a weekend building out these insurance, marketing plans for these guys, and then looked at my day job and went, I'm in the wrong business here. What am I doing? That moment when you first make $10,000 and you're like, the game has changed.
Yes.
The world is different. And you don't realize that $10,000 is not a lot of money. And there's a whole new slew of problems that come with it, right? More money, more problems. But for me, I came in as a client, started a marketing company, and about 2 months later, Ryan Stewman, the founder, he reached out to me and he's like, hey man, you're using this software tool, you're really helping a lot of my people. I think you're in the wrong business. Why don't you fly down? Let's spend a day together. We'll have a conversation. And, I think we can change a lot of lives. Well, long story short, I flew down, had that conversation, flew back to Ohio, told my wife, my family, the agent of 6 years that I've been working for, I said, hey man, I got this opportunity with this guy in Texas for this startup software company. I'm going to take it. And they're like, are you fucking crazy, man? What? It worked out, right? 6 months later, we sold our house. We moved to Texas. I became the VP of the company. I've been with Apex officially as the VP since August of 2019. I started about 6 months prior. So coming up on 4 years now, working with the Apex family. It's crazy.
Wow, that's awesome. So going back to insurance, tell me what your lead strategy was before you joined Apex. How are you generating leads? Because as you know, this podcast is for real estate agents, but really any sales professional, because if you're in sales, you have to do the same thing, right? To generate the leads. So what were you doing prior to Apex? What was your lead gen strategy? And then after joining Apex, how did that change and how did that double or triple your business?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question because I think that is the ultimate, when you start in real estate or insurance or mortgages, right? We all kind of are in that little financial trifecta together. And so the thing they don't teach you when you go to the training, because in training, they're like, all right, here's how you use the system. Here's how you do the contract. Here's how this all works. Like, go sell some stuff. And so you get back into your brokerage or your agency and you're all fired up and they've given you a couple of leads while you're there, right? And so then they're like, now go spend $5,000 to $10,000 a month on marketing and get leads. And you're going, what? So, for us, when I started I was just a sales producer at the time, right? So they basically sat me down and said, hey, we spent $1,000 with this lead vendor. Here's, 15 pieces of paper that are printed out from an email. We'll talk about that in a second. Here's 15 printed out emails of people with, their information that you can call them and try to sell them insurance. And so I would do that. And then they're like, when you run out of those, here is a printed out Excel spreadsheet, folks, listen to this, of people that live in Perrysburg that you can, call and try to see if they're interested in getting a quote. And so I learned the old school way. Like many of you who are listening, They handed me a couple of leads. They said, go work your circle of influence, right? Go talk to your friends and family and get them to sign up with you because they for sure want to do business with you, right? They love you. They're going to want to give you your money. No problem. Oh my God. And then, they hit the cold calls. So that's what I did for the first 6 months of our agency. We bought internet leads. I did cold calling. And basically, we went the old school hustle muscle route, right? And we did a lot of business. We got really good at the grind. Over time, I got really into the follow-up processes, right? We had a lady come into our agency who was kind of like the local regional salesperson that was supposed to teach everybody how to close more business. And I didn't really take a lot from the closing aspect, but what I learned from her was the follow-up processes, right? Because we all know, especially in real estate, it is not a like talk today, buy tomorrow situation.
Exactly.
Very rarely does that happen. And even if it does, where you're like, hey, I can show you this house. Let's write a contract tonight. Like the glory of blessing from the Lord when he hands you those deals, like they're very few and far between. But even then, there's still a 30 to 45 day process.
Yeah.
Right. And we all know, and this is why I make memes about underwriting, how quickly they will destroy a deal. The stupidest little things, right? Oh, one shingle is missing from the roof. Okay, put a freaking shingle on there. Like, no, we're not going to give you insurance coverage on that until they replace the whole roof. And you're like, we're supposed to close on Friday. What the hell are you talking about? And so anyways, there's a buying process, right? And so I understood that whether somebody had, a need for insurance now, they always needed it. So whether it was at this renewal or 6 months or a year from now when their next renewal came, I understood the cycle of insurance and that rates go up and things change and there's always new discounts and whatever, right? There's a lot of ways we can have that conversation. Same with real estate. Oh, the market's hot right now. The rates are coming down. Sell it however you want to sell it. I don't care. But the point is there's a process and a buying timeline. So I just started setting it up. When I got new leads, I worked them for a certain period of time and then I moved them over to a drip sequence. When I had people that were interested, I would work the deal, see what I could do. If it didn't work out, well, I had all their information. So I knew, hey, in 6 months, they're going to be getting a renewal from their current carrier. So I'm just going to set a notice to myself for 45 days prior to check in and be like, hey, did you get a new vehicle? Has anything changed? Did you have to replace your roof after those nasty storms? Because whether you know it or not, that could save you a couple $100 a year on your homeowner's policy. Right. And so I just had lots of little ins and ways to talk about it. And I just started checking in and checking in and checking in. And then I got to a point where, we had probably 50,000 leads in our CRM that were all completely automated. Every one of them had an expiration date. I knew when they were renewing, what kind of stuff they had going on. And we just built it all out. And so that became my specialty because whether we were paying $5 a lead or $50 a lead, my whole end game was, hey, I want to squeeze every bit I can out of that investment because we're spending thousands and thousands of dollars a month to get people's name, phone, and email. So that was leading up to Apex. And then when I started getting on there and we're spending all this money and I'm like fighting with these lead vendors to get credit for these crappy leads that don't have insurance or yada, 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 right? You guys have the same thing. There's qualifications that you can get your money back on a lead. I went online and I see in these Facebook groups, these insurance agents and real estate guys are like, hey, we're getting these mortgage leads for $2 a piece. You get these cheap mortgage leads, you go get yourself a couple of mortgage and real estate people and give them the leads. They're going to send you a shitload of business. Right? Like, because I tried to build relationships with people in the real estate world and the mortgage world, but
it
let's
takes
be
a
honest.
while.
Not only does it take a while, but people get sick of getting donuts.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, pro tip, new agents, donuts are not what people are looking for. Like $5 gas cards and coffee cards, like that's all well and good, but people want deals. They want real, actual business. That's how you build a strong referral relationship.
One of the things you said, just to stop you real quick, is and this is so interesting that you said this, most people focus on the initial lead or getting the sale, right? They don't focus on the follow-up, and that's where all the money is lost, because the money is in the follow-up. And so I've had so many instances where I've had people come to my house and design my office and my closet for a custom closet and never sent me the quote. So they took the time to drive to my house, spend 2 hours, and I never even got the quote from them. I went to BMW and test drove a BMW. I asked the guy to send me all the specs on the car. He never sent it. And so people spend so much time trying to get that initial lead, but really what you did was you spent more time on that follow-up sequence, because that's where more money is lost. And that's what most people are not doing, is the lead follow-up. So that's
exactly. Yeah, it is. And that's where, I think I'm very lucky that I got the education that I did, right? The Lord put the right people around me at the right time for me to get that lesson. And here's the other thing that people aren't really thinking about, right? Let's talk about a new agent. There's a lot of people coming to them with sponsorship opportunities. And hey, if you sponsor this, we're going to have all these people there and this, that, or like come to this event and set up a booth, right? There's lots and lots of different marketing tactics that are flooded into new agents. Here's the thing. If you don't have a way to actually track the return on that investment, you're literally just burning money. You have no idea if it worked or didn't work. Now, maybe you set up a booth and someone comes up and they're like, oh, you know what? I was thinking about listing my home. You just happen to be the guy here when I decide to do it, right? Like, again, that does not happen very often. But unless that happens, you really aren't sure, because if you're taking the paper slips with people's name and it's chicken scratch, and then you like take them and you hand them to your assistant and you tell the assistant to call these people, like, did they actually call? Probably not.
right.
Like, that's why I have a call the damn leads hat, because when I started my marketing company, and I'm going to throw some shade at real estate agents here for a second, because some of you need to learn and hear this lesson. The reason I sold my marketing company is because I would get leads for real estate agents and mortgage officers all the time. And like, they were relatively inexpensive, but they were long form, had most of the information that you needed to do like a legitimate pre-qualification and everything. And I would get 50, 100 leads a month for some of these folks, and they'd call me and be like, well, I don't know, these leads aren't any good, man. Like, they're just not converting. Like, well, what do you mean? Like, even a blind squirrel has a 10% conversion rate. So like, work with me here, right? And so I'll never forget, I had one real estate agent who I helped. He had a listing and he was trying to get leads to sell this listing. And so I put an ad together. I ran it. We got 100 leads in the first 2 weeks. And he's like, oh, yeah, like I reached out to him, but nobody wants to do anything with it. Like, I'm going to have to cancel our service. I charged him $1,500 for a listing for, it was like a whole month services. That included everything, right? For a $750,000 condo. I got him 100 leads of people that were like, hey, I'm interested in talking about this condo. He tells me, nah, man, these leads are no good. So I got on the phone the next day and I called every one of those leads and I set 12 appointments for people to look at that condo.
So that's the difference. And a lot of people don't understand the difference between sales and marketing, right? They're two different things. And so you can do all of the marketing that you want, right? Like, you can have the best marketing. But if you're not good at sales, if you can't sell those people that you've attracted through your marketing, then it doesn't really matter. So sales and marketing go together, but you need both pieces of that puzzle to fit in order to actually convert. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, this is the stuff I love talking about all day long, and really where I've spent the majority of my personal development time, because I understand that really sales is kind of simple. You need two things in sales. And Ryan really, again, kind of boiled into what this person is actually saying to me instead of just being up here in my head and being like, all right, here's how I'm going to sell this house. Here's what I'm going to spend my commission on. Here's where I'm going to take my girlfriend or my wife or whatever. Like, people get so far ahead of themselves instead of just being real and having an honest conversation.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, people aren't waking up in the middle of the night like, you know what, we should just buy a new house, or like, we should go get a mortgage with a 15% interest rate right now. Like, we should just do that, right? And again, I'm kind of stealing this from Ryan, but like, this is the truth. People don't do those things. They wake up and say, hey, we got a kid on the way. We live in a rough neighborhood. If we don't go find something a little more stable, like, is this where we want to raise a family? Okay, now you're having a real conversation. Now we're talking about something that matters. And so that's the empathy side. And the confidence is, you know what? I'm confident that we can find you the right home in the right price range in a neighborhood that will be great for your family. Here's 3 options that I think are a great start. Let me know what you think, and I'm going to work on a couple more. And then you give me a solid date on time on when we can go look at these bad boys.
Right.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, and also asking the right questions. A lot of times, especially with anybody in sales, but I see it all the time with real estate agents, is they just don't stop talking, right? Instead of actually asking the clients what they're looking for and using question-based selling to really understand and determine, number one, what their motivation is, to buy or move, because that's going to be super important when you're trying to help them make a decision. So really understanding what they're looking for. And that all comes from asking questions instead of talking about yourself and why you're so good and what you can do for marketing and and people don't shut up. Going back to, because it's so funny when you said the Excel spreadsheet. So when I first started in real estate, my real estate broker would drop the expired listings on everybody's desk, not just mine. So like everybody in my office was calling the same old expired, at the same time, right? So, but we were cold calling from lists. And I know a lot of people still preach that. And I can tell you, I coach real estate agents, and that is part of, what I tell them that they need to do to start to grow their business, in addition to a lot of other things. But when you transitioned from making those old school, active prospecting techniques to generating a lot of leads in other ways, what was like, how did that shift? And then what were the activities that you were doing differently? And did you still have, or would you still suggest making those calls?
So I'm going to 100% always suggest that if you don't have active incoming opportunity, that you're out there hunting for it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if you don't have leads flowing to your desk and you don't have a CRM full of stuff that you can work on all day, then yes, you need to pick up the phone and call the damn leads.
Yes.
Like, without question, because you are a hunter. And if you don't go out and you don't hunt, then your family doesn't have food on the table, and eventually they don't have a roof over their heads. And I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, but no one wants to be that person. Right. No one wants to fail because they didn't do the work. And so if you need to, pick up the phone and call. Now, the problem is that a lot of people look at cold calling as, hey, if they don't want to specifically do business with me right now, that this is a loser lead. Here's the thing. When I first got into insurance, I was so freaking silly and dumb that I literally would just call and cold call and be like, hey, I just opened an agency here in Perrysburg, and I'm not asking you to do anything with me right now, except give me 2 minutes of time to tell me what you love about your current insurance products. How many people love their current insurance products? None, right? Like, oh, they gave me a good rate. That's fantastic. We also understand rates are very important. Is that something where they go up on you often, or does it change, or does it stay pretty consistent?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it went up last time. And what about the time before that? You know, it went up then too. Yeah, it kind of happens like that sometimes. When was the last time you shopped around? Well, it's been a while. You got 10 more minutes, I can put something together for you. Like, that simple. It's just, and it didn't happen every time.
Question-based selling with a script, right? And instead of going in and saying, hey, you know, we're blah, 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 that's exactly what, I mean, that's how you get the sales.
That is where you learn what matters to your prospects.
Yes.
Because ultimately, when it comes to marketing, which is the other side of what we're talking about here, right? It is entirely psychological. People are either trying to run towards pleasure or they're trying to escape the pain that they're in currently. Their house is too small. They don't like their neighborhood. They need to downsize, right? The divorce, death, all these different things that happen in the real estate world as to create a transactional situation. Now your job is to understand that buying timeline, that process, what those individuals are truly going through. And then by basically presetting the expectations for them of, okay, these are the things that we typically see in this scenario, right? With a divorce, you're going to have to worry about the value and then who's getting the home. Do we have to sell it? How quickly? Is it a short sale? Who's getting this, that, what have you, right? There's a lot of moving parts to that, which is why, especially in real estate, if you niche down and say, hey, I work with this specific kind of individual, right? If I were to come to your brokerage and be like, hey, I've got 100 leads, who wants them? Everybody would raise their hand. But if I say, hey, I've got 100 leads for people that want to buy trailers under 25 grand, how many people are going to raise their hands?
Not many.
Probably not many. But I'll bet if I called the right guy who works in RV parks or trailer parks and say, hey, man, I got 100 people that want to buy trailers. What do you think? He'd be like, oh, send them over. I got 10 grand for every person, right? Like, let's go. If you don't know your ideal client and you don't know what they need or how you help them, then you're talking to the wrong people.
Yes.
So if you're a real estate agent, typically when you get started, you're looking for buyers, right? So let's start thinking about what kind of buyers exist out there. Well,
Right.
you got your retail buyers and they're all scared right now because the market's crazy and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, there's a lot of wholesalers out there right now.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people that are looking to throw money around and invest. Start talking to them.
Right.
They can buy homes, right? They're still prospects. They may try to lowball, and that's a different conversation. And what they're doing is a different buying process, but it doesn't mean that there can't be synergy there.
Yeah.
So when it comes to marketing, if I can give them one piece of advice right from the start, start thinking about who you want to work with. Who do you want to do business with? Because you don't want to do business with everybody.
Right.
You have a very specific type of individual or client avatar, as we call it, that is your ideal client. You know, I want to work with a married couple that's got 2 kids that's moving from out of state because they need to move into something. They have a need, and they're going to have some specific things that are going to probably tell me their home's going to be between 300 and 500,000. So if I got to work on it for a month, when I do get the commission 90 days later, it's going to be worth my time and effort.
Absolutely.
You see how that changes the game now?
Yeah. And a lot of times what I tell people, especially my coaching clients, is if you're new and just starting out, you 100% need that avatar, who you're going to work with. Don't put your blinders on though, so that you're not listening for other people that are looking to buy, sell, or invest as well, right? And so,
Sure.
Yes, you need that avatar, because then you can think about what your offer is. Then you can think about what you're going to be calling people to, to offer them. But you don't want to have those blinders on, so that when someone wants to come and buy $1 million house and it's not that first time home buyer, you're like, eh. But eventually also, the more leads you call, the more you actively go out there and be a hunter, right? The more things are going to start to come from you from other aspects, that it's not just from the efforts of your cold calling. And the more you do it, especially in the beginning, the easier it will get. But then you're not going to have to do it forever, because then you can put people, systems, in automation in place so that everything will start to kind of flow, and you don't have to be hitting the phones, you know what I mean, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, like you used to be,
That I wish I could say I had to hit the phones 3 hours a day. I was
Was it all day?
Oh, we had the auto dialers. We had all the things.
Oh yeah.
We were all in, but we knew this was it. It was either sink or swim. And if we didn't find the people to do business with, we were going to lose our business. And that wasn't an option for us, right? We had families, we had people that were important to us, we had a mission. And I think that's the other side that really messes people up, is that they are afraid of that rejection.
Yes.
They're afraid to find out that all these people that tell them how wonderful and great they are and how amazing they are, and that, hey, when you get into that, I'm for sure going to want to do business with you, because like, it don't happen. Your closest friends, your family, you're going to be like, wait, you went and you listed your house with who?
Yeah.
With who?
Yes. It happens to everybody in sales.
Oh, and like, so for me, what was really hard too, because like I came into Apex, and when we moved to Texas, I mean, I had sold 10 different real estate agents in DFW into our program. And then it's like, well, which agent do I want to work with? And then like, we got a close family friend who's been our nanny for the last 6 months, who's just getting started in real estate. And so we're like, well, we're going to give her a chance, because like, we know everybody needs that first chance to like get out there. Right. And so that is a difficult part, but it's also part of becoming the authority in your marketplace. Right. So this is a lot of what we teach now, and what I focus on is, and I'm stealing this from my son's teacher, but she was so great. This is like one of those simple things that you hear and you're like, oh, brilliant. No name, no fame. If people don't know who you are, or you're not putting your name out there, there's no way for you to grow your market influence. There's no way for you to become the go-to person, whether it's online or offline or in your community, whatever. No name, no fame. And so those cold calling efforts and those marketing and showing up at the venues and standing around and just having conversations with people at the grocery store, that's the stuff that gets you the foundation. That's what sets you apart from every other agent. Because here's a little story that goes along with the follow-up process and the branding and the name, right? When I started at Allstate, they gave me, again, a stack of leads at our training program. We were there for 2 weeks in Cleveland. We had all these leads. I got back. There was one lead, Bill something, and I called and emailed and sent letters, and the dude never responded to me. But I put him in my CRM, and every 4 or 5 months, I sent him a letter. I called and left a voicemail, and on we went, right? For 3.5 years. Then one day he picks up the phone, and he's like, man, you've been calling me like every 6 months for 3 years. What the hell's wrong with you? It's like, you're on the list, man. You're in our neighborhood. If we can help, I want to be there. And he's like, well, here's the deal. I'm busy tonight. Call me back on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. And I'm like, all right, Bill, but like, I don't usually work until 7. If I call, you're going to answer, right? He's like, yep, call me at 7. So I stay till 7 o'clock. I call him and he answers, and he's like, cool, man, I appreciate it. Here's all my info. Call me back on Thursday at 3 p.m. Rock and roll, Bill. Like, cool. I call you back Thursday, 3 p.m. I give him a call. I'm like, all right, Bill, I got all your numbers, yada, yada. You want me to email him, whatever? He's like, mail him to my house. Cool. When do you want me to follow up? I'll call you. Awesome. Cool, Bill. I'm going to send these out, and I'll make a note to check back with you in 2 weeks. And so I sent them out. 2 weeks go by. I call. He doesn't answer. And I'm like, man, all right, on we go, right? And I'm just moving on, because I understand this is just, we're planting seeds. The next Tuesday, I'm working late, because Tuesdays were like my late call night. So I used to work 9 to 5 or whatever, but I'd stay till 6 or 7 and do late night calls, because, again, I'm trying to get people. I hear the little doorbell chime, and we're in like a small neighborhood. There's hardly any foot traffic. So I'm like, the hell, that's strange. I walk out there, and this dude walks in, and he's got this manila folder filled with papers that are all folded and crumpled. And he's like, hey, man, this is every letter and message that you've sent me for the last 3 years. I don't know what the hell you're doing or how crazy you are, but I've had a lot of agents that have said they're going to take care of me for a long time, and they're in and gone in 6 to 12 months. Clearly, you ain't going anywhere. Your numbers are close, but they're more expensive. I don't care about that. I want to know you're going to be here and be my guy. You good? And I was like, yeah, Bill, that's why I kept calling you. Cool. Here's all my policy. Here's my credit card. Let's go.
Wow, that's awesome.
4 years of follow-up.
Yeah. Yes. And people don't understand. And you know what's crazy is that I talk to real estate agents all the time, and I'll hear them say, the market's down right now. I think I'm going to be I'm going to go back to bartending a couple nights a week. The market's down. I'm going to go in Uber. I was on my way to the airport, and my Uber was a real estate agent. And I thought to myself, you want to drive random people around in your car all day long instead of taking 2 to 3 hours a day and calling people to see if they're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Like, you would rather do that then you know what I mean? Like, just make the calls, just call the leads, just call anybody, go door knock, do something. But you're going to be an Uber driver or a bartender. That's like insane to me.
Your odds of meeting a $1 billion investor in your Uber are like hitting the lottery.
Right.
You got the same damn chances, folks. Like, let's not be fools here.
And
if
I
you
don't
want to
think
be
they
successful,
were looking at it to get the leads. They're looking at it like, shit, I got to make some money. Like, they're not even thinking. He did have a magnet on his car that he was a realtor. So that, you know.
I've had a couple of those. Usually those are the guys that I'm like, hey man, I think you're doing it wrong. Like, right. here's my book. Here's some stuff. Like,
exactly.
Please call me. I will give you some free game. I will help you because this is not it, fam. Like, there's more to the world than this.
So before we, because I don't want to run out of time here, let's talk about your book. So you tell us about your book, tell us the name, tell us how you got started with writing it.
Absolutely. So my book is called Crushing the Day, a simple guide to success in business and life through service to others. Because my whole story, and that's really what it is, it's kind of a recap of my life up to coming up on 3 years ago now when I originally launched that book. I actually have the audio version coming out pretty soon. I'm excited about that. But the whole premise of the book was, hey, I'm going to go back and I'm going to tell my story, right? A kid who came up, single mom, kind of a broken home, some ins and outs, right? I'm covered in tattoos, so I've got a whole bunch of backstories to go along with how I came up in that game. And you know, a lot of people doubted me from the beginning. But through hard work, through showing up for opportunity, through finding discipline and focusing on just caring about other people, I've been able to build a couple of businesses and a life for myself that I'm very, very proud of. And so that book was a recap of, hey, I'm at this moment where it's kind of the peak of my life, right? The happiest, the most successful, all those things. Let's stop and let's bookmark it. Funny little pun there, but like, let's leave a chapter in history. Like, this is part of building that authority, right? This is part of getting my story out there, because your story is your struggle, and your struggle is what makes you strong, and what makes you strong is what makes you attractive.
Right.
Just being honest, right? That's what people want to know. They love those stories. And then I went back and I said, cool, this is what happened in my life. Here's all the things that I've been through. Here's a few really important key takeaways for me personally that I think if someone goes back and takes a few for them, there's going to be benefit. And that's really what the book was all about. It was about telling my story and getting it out there, which is a very emotionally freeing feeling, right? There's a lot of things and traumas we go through in life. And sometimes putting those stories out there, you don't realize or recognize what an impact they can make in other people's lives. And that is the thing for me now with the book, is it's still weird to be like, oh yeah, I wrote a best-selling book 3 years ago, because I barely graduated high school. I flunked sophomore English 3 times. It wasn't that I was stupid. It was just I didn't care.
Right.
But when I had a purpose, when there was a reason, when I was being intentional with my time and my energy, the book made sense. And putting it out there, I've sold over 1,000 copies, almost 1,100 plus copies at this point. Like I said, awesome. The audio book is coming. And I get messages from people all the time of like, hey, I read your book. I really appreciate it. I resonate so closely. It's like we have the same story, right? And everybody thinks their story is very unique. I'm like, well, there's nobody like me. We all got similar shit that we went through. And when you start building that that relationship, right? The family of choice, as we call it inside of Apex, that's when you really find a new version of yourself. That's when you open up and you're like, okay, cool. I've done that. I survived that. I can be proud of that. And here's this group of people who will support me to taking it to that next level, because we're not going to settle, right? Settling is not an option. We're going to keep growing. We're going to keep getting better. Yeah. And as long as we're on that path and we have that mission and that purpose, well, then I'm blessed every day to wake up and have that opportunity to share that mission and purpose with other people. And if I get the chance to do it tomorrow, well, heck yeah, we're going to do it again tomorrow.
So Crushing the Day, sold on Amazon. The audiobook is going to be on Audible, I'm assuming?
Yes, ma'am. Coming here in about 10 days as of the day we're recording this. So hopefully it'll have been out a week or two once people get to hear this.
Yes. And then also, what's your next book?
So I actually have 2 books in the works, as a matter of fact. One book is coming out. It's going to be about social media mastery, right? How I've used social media to generate more than $10 million in sales online over about 3,600 transactions, right? So if you guys think about this as real estate agents, imagine doing 300 or 400 transactions a year by yourself or with a small team. That's kind of what I'm doing in my space, essentially. And so we're running at a very high level. And so I'm going to talk about how I've done that using social media as my primary lead generation and marketing tool. And then the book after that, because this one was kind of just a surprise, decided to do this thing. But the book after that is called The Meme Lord: How I Discovered the Value of Social Trends and Used Them to Build My Multi-Million-Dollar Empire. Because I love memes. I've tattooed Meme Lord across my knuckles, and I have created a course that has helped thousands of entrepreneurs, real estate agents, sales professionals figure out how to use memes in their marketing and in their sales and follow-up process to create more likability, to close more sales, to bring back some of those old leads that, kind of went ghost on you. I found a few little fun, niche ways to get people reignited and re-excited to talk. And so I'm going to go into the depth of the marketing psychology of memes and why they work and where they really stem from originally to what they've become over the last 30, 40 years since the terminology was originally founded, talking about biology and Darwinism, right? That's how funny it's changed over the years. But I'm going to go deep on that whole topic and subject because I am the meme lord. And so I need to become the authority and make sure the whole world knows that too.
I love it. So we're going to do a follow-up podcast at some point. And then, because how much time do we have? Do you know what time it is?
I think we got about 10 minutes until my hard stop. So we got a few more minutes to wrap, and then I'd love to come back. I mean, this has been fun.
Yes. So what I want to talk about, because you brought it up a couple of times, and I want people to understand, because I bring it up in my coaching group all the time, about how they need to become the authority, right? And so what's so awesome about social media and online and stuff like that is you can be a brand new real estate agent, never even close a transaction, and still come off as the authority in your market by using social media. And so a lot of agents kind of shy away from that because they think, oh, imposter syndrome, or I'm not good enough, or I don't know. But you have to put yourself out there, especially in the beginning, right? Because you have to be everywhere. You have to call the damn leads. You have to have your lead follow-up. You have to cold call. You have to hustle. You have to door knock. You have to do social media. All of that together, a mix of active and passive marketing, is what's going to get you out there, get you the deals under your belt, and also establish you as the authority. So what would you recommend, or what are some of the ways or tactics that you can become an authority online when you might not necessarily have, that huge following and things like that?
So I'll first premise with, you don't need a massive following to make a boatload of money on the internet, right? Everybody thinks, oh, I need 10,000 or 1,000,000 followers or whatever. Here's the deal. If I came to you right now and said, I've got 100 clients ready to go, you would fall apart. Just being honest. And the majority of us would, because we don't have the back end built for that sort of influx yet. The goal, like the whole point, is to scale to that level, right? But people mistake needing this huge audience to be able to generate revenue. That's not the case. I have a following of about 5,000 people on social media, and I did $5 million in sales last year. And that's, again, cumulatively, that'd be like $50 or $60 million in real estate transactions. So I'm not messing around.
Yeah.
It's there, right? And so with that, when you're using social media to become the authority, you have to remember that these platforms were designed so that people could live vicariously through the stories and the entertainment that you put out there. So if you want to become the authority using social media and just in general, right? People do business with people. They're not buying from the logo. They're not buying from the brokerage. They're not buying from
the website.
The website, right? None of that matters. They're buying from people that they know, like, and trust. Well, when you go out and you meet people, what does the typical transaction or situation look like? You walk in, you look each other up and down. You're like, they don't look too sketchy. I'll sit and have a coffee with them, right? So you kind of have that initial introduction. Well, that's your profile on social media. If I go to your profile on social media and you look like a crazy homeless person because you're posting weird cat videos and your profile picture is your dog chewing up a toy, like, I'm not going to do business with you. I'm just being 100% honest. But if I land on your profile and you have a professional, updated picture of yourself, real estate
Exactly.
agents. Do not use those 80s glamour shots. I'm calling you out. But have a real picture of yourself because people want to know who they're doing business with. And then in your timeline, we think about media and how we watch TV and what goes on. Well, if you think of your timeline and the content that you're putting out there as your own news channel, right? That's what people are tuning into when they look at social media. Well, what's on your television? What are you putting out there for people to see? Again, are you just putting out stupid cat videos and political rants? Or are you putting out educational and entertaining content that makes people understand that, hey, yes, this person's in real estate, but they're also kind of smart because they're telling me how I can get an extra 10% when I sell my home, or how I can beat the fees that realtors charge on the transaction. Wait, this guy's a real estate agent and he's telling me how to beat the realtors. I'm going to take a second to see what he's got to say. Right. Even if you're really just making it up and kind of being like, well, here's how you beat it. You get them to come down on the buy down or whatever, like
Right.
silly thing that you guys do. I don't know all the details. I'm not in real estate, but I know that exists.
Yeah. And they can use ChatGPT now to figure it out.
And so that's the thing. If you want to become the authority, you want to use social media very intentionally, and you need to start thinking about it, not so much of, hey, why am I putting this out and what makes me feel good about it? But what am I putting out and why does my audience feel good about it? What is what's in it for them? Because ultimately they're the ones that I'm trying to get to engage with me to either say, yes, I would like to buy, sell, or invest with you. Or, hey, I got a friend or a cousin or an auntie who's trying to get some money for their house. Like, would you be willing to have a conversation with them? Because I don't know anything about it, but you're the only person I see consistently showing up and being of value versus constantly being like, hey, by the way, we sell real estate. So when you're ready to list your home, call me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of simple, but people really overcomplicate it.
It's crazy. I mean, and it just all goes back to using the active and passive marketing to really grow your business. But once you get out there, the social media can blow you up, right? Because there's only so many calls you can make. So This was seriously like fire. I cannot wait for this to come out. This was awesome. I'm so happy you were on. I love it. There's so much content for real estate agents, whether you're, new or an established agent that's really looking to grow your business. I mean, it really comes down to calling the damn leads, having solid lead follow-up systems, having those drip campaigns on ways to systematically automate follow up, like Bill, how you followed up with him for 3 years. I mean, I'm sure it was a lot of automations and taking the time in the beginning to really build that out, because once it's built out, then it's a set it and forget it type of thing for everybody. And then establishing your authority online and building your online brand, because that's where it's at. And one of the things I also just want to point out real quick to real estate agents is that when you build your online brand, you're going to get people from all different states, like, hey, Texas, California, whatever, that are going to start to notice you, and you can refer that business out. So that there's so many people that make their money from referral fees from other real estate agents in other areas. So once you establish that online brand and presence and authority, it's just going to make you, you know what I mean? Like so much bigger of an agent. So anyways, thank you so much for being on. This was awesome. I really appreciate it. I might even have to have a sneak peek of this for some of the people that I'm working with, because it was a ton of value. And a lot of the stuff I say to the people I'm coaching, and quite honestly, I feel like they need to hear it from somebody else because it's not getting done. But thank you. I really appreciate it. Is there any last thing that you want to mention or?
I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to be here. This is really my whole mission, especially this year, is taking that time to pour into the people, to help them learn, because I've been blessed with a ton of opportunity. I've been given more than I can give back to the community. So I'm just trying to step up and stand out and be a great example of what's possible. Because I was a kid that barely graduated. I was a drug dealer, and now I'm making multi-six figures a year. And really, like I said, my whole thing is really just focused on serving people and helping the community, which I know for a real estate based audience, that's what you're doing too. So Danielle, thank you so much for the opportunity. I cannot wait to come back and do part 2. And I certainly hope that the listeners know if they have questions or they need anything, we're both here. So I hope they're tuning in, they're subscribing to this podcast, and then knowing that they can reach out to either one of us anytime with questions.
Yes, 100%. Don't forget to subscribe. All of your contact information is going to be in here as well, so they can reach out to you directly with any questions. I look forward to the next one where we can take a deeper dive into social media. And I'm excited for your second book. That's going to be awesome. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Real Estate Secrets Unlocked. Don't forget to subscribe to our show on your favorite platform, and we would love your feedback. Check us out on social and let me know what topics you want more of. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and our show. I'm your host, Danielle Damianov, and until next time, stay motivated, stay excited, and keep growing in this crazy world of real estate. Thanks for listening to Real Estate Secrets Unlocked.